Alright, we are back once more with more Super Draft auction. Today we have 3 sets that I'm casting as Rex, and later on today I will be back with a live cast with a co-caster that is very legendary in this community. But for now we have Duhak, Natria versus TomAquinas coming up as game number 1. Then afterwards we have Frozen Hot Pepper Pizza versus GeologyWade. And we will finish the cast with Mike the Guy versus Pisty. So without further ado, let's dive into the map draft here for Duhak versus Tom. Game number 1 will be played on Glacis. Tom has Crater as his home map and Dodai G as Duhak's home map. So let's get game number 1 going here and let's see who comes out on top, as we will dive more into the standings at the end of the stream. Bam! Here we go. Game number 1. TomAquinas in the red, playing as the Armenians. And then in the blue we have Duhak Natria playing as the Teutons. And the more and more we see of this map, I think the more and more players kind of figure out how to play this map. Tom already starting to look, scouting a bit around, getting these cows that are out and about wandering outside of his walls. Duhak scouting with the cows, just scouting inside of his walls for now, scouting the backside here as well. Not sure if it's worth it to go this deep this early, because usually the cows are more located towards the front. But boar has been spotted and boar will be brought in with the 6th villager. And having cows means that the cow will basically run out around the time that the boar is brought in, so great timing there. And then sending vills to wood, of course. For Tom, this is another cow, so both of his boars, boar number 1 and boar number 2, are still there. But Tom, being the Armenians, of course, gets the mule cart. And Tom saying it's growing on me, and I think it's more flexible than the meta suggested. It's definitely a very flexible map, given that you can play some water, but you can also, of course, just play the other side's water. We have seen some sneak dogs with varying results of success here, but I think having that forward sneak dog off to the side gives you an opportunity to surprise, and depending on how sneaky it is, also a potential to demo some villagers that are collecting the fish. As Duhak's boar is about to run out, I assume, and yeah, that was once again great timing for Duhak bringing in that boar right as the other boar is about to expire. Now we do have the 5th villager on wood for Duhak, so I assume docks will be placed soon. 4 on wood for Tom. As one villager building a house, and I assume there is a mill here. Voice may be a bit low. I can definitely bump up my volume just a little bit, I think. This might be slightly better. I'm not sure if I like the mill opening, to be honest. I think the dock opening might be better, but of course with a dock and then producing fishing ships, you will delay your uptimes just a little bit. So if Tom wants to go for some early aggression here, the mill is definitely the better play. Given that the mill, you can of course also take the chickens and not only be on the shorefish. And as I say, early aggression, barracks foundation is placed, house is placed. Not sure if I like the barracks position. I think here would be slightly better. That way you have kind of a defensive wall off going on. But I have to say I like the early barracks. And given that we have the Armenians, I assume, but I might be wrong, we might see some feudal age long swords. And potentially could lock the units indeed. But I think, given that this is already a felled tree, could just palisade trick it. Although I'm not too sure if the palisade tricks works on placed trees, or that it will need to be chopped. Storm is getting loom. It's not housed. But we might see feudal age after this, after maybe force drop from these villas, or force drop from these villas. As we also have one villager on gold, and great mule cart position here. Feudal age is clicked, is definitely ahead in terms of the clicking up in comparison to Duhak, who is lacking quite a bit of food, but of course has the slightly better eco. Given that he has some fishing ships out, this also... Oh, it's not really that reflective in the rest collected yet. I would have expected the rest collected to be a bit more in favor of Duhak, but that might change given that Tom has now clicked up. And the first militia are out on the field. And oh boy, what are we seeing here? The second barracks. I'm already starting to like this from Tom. Very, very early, very much aggression. The only thing is that once Duhak reaches feudal, and he still hasn't clicked yet, by the way. Still making villagers, still making fishing ships. Also go onto stone now. Onto gold here as well. So might be thinking about either tower defense with archers, or tower rushing with archers. As we see arson, we see the men-at-arms upgrade, and with the double barracks, both will come in relatively soon. And we also, where are these dudes going? They're just standing here right now. I think Tom needs to move. And Tom does know about the berries will kill this house relatively quick, especially with arson in. Duhak immediately reacts. One villager to repair, not really enough, but Tom decides to walk around anyways. Now what I would love to see is more men-at-arms. Yesterday we saw some insane aggression from Tom as the 2P, where he just kept making units, and I would love to see that same energy once more, but one villager goes down. Second villager goes down, one man-at-arms go down, 3 men-at-arms from Duhak in, or militia from Duhak in return, and longswords upgrade is in for Tom, and these longswords will not deal, they will not deal with the militia because there were villagers helping in the fight. Now there's also a range coming up here. There is no armor on these bad boys for Tom just yet, as a third barracks is being placed. And Tom might need to start thinking about adding some farms here as well. Although he is here on the wild chicken, which are a great free source of food income. And with these long swords now for Tom, could start breaking houses relatively easily. Could also potentially just go for the palisade. Look at how fast that goes down. Duhak forced the stone wall behind. Of course, Duhak did get on stone earlier. He's now making a defensive tower on his stone. And Tom, just happy to break through. Just happy to attack houses. Happy to cause some idle time as Duhak is making a second archery range. Skirm is out. So could start doing some pokes to the longswords. But as we can see here, skirms only do 1 damage to the longswords. So it will be a long time before these longswords with a combined HP of 230 now will die. as Duhak sends more villagers forward. I'm not sure if sending villagers forward here with this much forward aggression from Tom is the correct move. But berries are forward, lots of the food is forward. Of course, Teutons could go for their cheaper farms. Tom chooses to not engage with the archers and instead dive for the villagers. Villagers are running. Villagers are not dying yet. 1 villager down, 2 villagers down. More villagers are dying. And I agree with GeologyWade here that definitely a demo would be nice. But given that there is so much pressure from Tom, like Tom is producing out of these 3 barracks, and with the longswords, it's very hard to keep track, especially since the longswords all over. Like there's longswords here, there's longswords on the dock, there's longswords on the tower. There's no longswords in the back eco just yet. And there are still some villagers collecting food here for Duhak. This is Duhak's entire food eco at the moment. Archers are microing backwards and doing more damage than I would have expected. No fletching in just yet. Defensive tower went down. Nothing in the TC, so Tom could even just take out the TC with the longswords. Although the archers are now garrisoned with some villagers. And Duhak calls the GG. Lots and lots of early aggression and a very fast game number 1 here in favor of Tom. And Tom with the Armenian longswords in Feudal Age. Very, very hard to stop. Rest collected relatively even. I think for Duhak, might have been better if he tried to maybe get 1 or 2 demos. Could have definitely been something. Try to get farms under the TC, because Teutons, of course, have the cheaper farms. You don't need to be out here if you see the longswords. I like the double range. I definitely do like that. I also very much liked the stone walls, but I think Tom just... so much early aggression. I'm not sure how I would deal with that personally, as Tom's home eco just looks completely untouched. Did make more mills to the side to keep the food income more efficient, and that is some very nice macro behind all this forward aggression from Tom. But with that being said, we have a game number 2 coming up. Let's go to the map draft instead of the standings. And for game number 2, we have TomAquinas. And Tom saying, I know he tower rushed Zark here, so I figured longswords was a good response, and longswords definitely was great play here. But on game 2, maybe Duhak can make some aggression working this time in his favor. TomAquinas here playing as the Huns and Duhak playing as the Turks. Now, of course, this is defend the wonder. Lose the wonder, you will lose the game. We've seen some great strats here from other players. And I am not sure what the Huns would do here on this map. For Turks, definitely could see a fast imp into maybe bombard cannons or something similar. Yesterday we did see a few times that there was a player, and I will not reveal too many details here about the strat, who went FC very, very fast, always placed monastery in the middle to get some relics, and then built a sneak castle off to the backside to trap down the wonder from the opponent. But Tom going out for his lumber camp in the defend the wonder area, so we'll always have some villager presence there. I really like that. For Duhak, just having a lumber camp in his starting area. And so will not have early presence, at least in the Defend the Wonder area. Now, it's not important to have presence that early, but there is definitely some resources that you could take. There is about roughly, let's say 1000 that you can reasonably take with the food decay in deer meat. And then there's also stones, of course. There is roughly 2000 stones to mine. That's for both players, of course. And there's also one sim relic in both Defend the Wonder areas. And ooh, I think playing Maxi on this map would be horrible. He would still find a way to lame. There are cows that spawn outside of your map, or outside of your base, like here. And I'm sure Maxi would still find a way to somehow break through very early, like with a tower rush or something. Potentially you could tower here and prevent villagers from entering. Same here, you could tower here and make the Defend the Wonder area a whole lot harder to access. And yes, this is also an unbuildable area because some players, Maxi, would douche just in front of the gates and then would Vil rush the Wonder. And having the TC here would mean that repairing would be basically impossible, even if you had villagers already on the inside here. And TomAquinas here pushing in there from all the way over here. So not wanting to with the hunts, you of course start with some less wood. Then not wanting to make a mill inside here immediately, just pushes the deer. I have to say, I have not seen that before. I have not seen that before. Now on the sides there's also some foxes and some shorefish that you could take. As there are some more villagers here for Tom. Starting to gather wood. And looks like it is definitely going to be fast castle from Tom. For Duhak is on gold already and is looking very FCable as well here. It's probably going out for a second lumber camp. There it is. And of course we could also see a fast imp with the Turks as we see Duhak going for stone. So might be thinking about defensive towers, might also just be thinking about the castle needed for Imperial Age as Tom is pushing in more and more deer. Now this is costing him 2 of his sheep to be a bit further away from the TC. As Tom clicks up on 23 villagers and 1 scout, so 24 pop. Duhak up 1 vil later on 25 pop, 1 extra vil working for him. As Tom makes 2 farms, pretty standard fast castle plays here from Tom. Although I'm not sure with the wood here, with the hunts starting with a little less wood, adding in the second farm is the correct play here. And I do think this is indeed too fast for Fast Imp, but still, having 2 villagers on stone here, gradually getting in that stone for a castle, could definitely be forward castle into some pressure into a relative Fast Imp. But we will see what the players are going to do as Tom goes for a stable. And there's no other second building just yet. Does not have the wood for it. Like I said, maybe that second farm was a little too ambitious. And for Duhak, as he reaches the feudal age, smacks down a market blacksmith, I assume. There is the market. And there is the blacksmith. Now, stable is up for Tom. Could potentially just drop his blacksmith somewhere. But the stable definitely tells me that Tom wants to contest some relics and maybe produce some scouts on the way up. As we have a market instead of the blacksmith. Not a terrible choice. But is of course a bit more expensive on the wood initially. As Duhak sends more villagers out to the stone area. Uses the markets. Drops off some food. Drops off some gold. And proceeds to click up after this villager. So Duhak will be the first one in Castle H. Both players now on stone. Tom quite heavily on stone, I might add. And I think some villagers on stone here. Where are the other stone villagers? I see 7, or is that just villagers here that are still moving? That's villagers that are still moving. So I'm not actually collecting just yet. But TomAquinas already on 400 stone. Duhak on 300 stone. But will catch up with Tom having more on stone. And it might be a double castle drop. And the question then becomes, who will send their villagers forward the first? So for now, we just have to wait and see. For Duhak, 7 on gold, 5 on food. So could definitely make use of that market with the gold income to potentially buy the last 100 stone that he's missing. And start sending villagers forward. For Tom, having the market could do the same. As some villagers chilling under the TC. That are now also going to gold. So Tom having that market will pay off in the end eventually. And with these fields here, could just make a mill here and just deer. Or mill the deer. As Tom getting his eco upgrades before Castle H hits. Drops off the stone, has the stone for a castle. Duhak reaches Castle H as well. Adding in some farms. So we'll have some solid food income in the future. Tom getting wheelbarrow, making a defensive castle. So Tom not moving out across the map, and the same goes for Duhak. So both players defensive castle. No light cav just for Tom. And no one really contesting the relics just yet. No monasteries being built. As Tom adds in some farming eco of his own. As Tom's castle is up, we'll start producing Tarkans. And for Duhak, still quite heavily on stone with 9 villagers. Tom switched a few of his villagers from stone to wood. Will have 2 villagers on stone remaining. And I quite like that. Just having that slow stone income could potentially start expanding the eco later. As Tom is buying more and more wood. Using that market to its fullest potential. And as I say that, Duhak is doing the same, buying wood and selling some stone. So Duhak getting his farming eco sorted here, is missing Horse Color. Now with the new patch, Horse Color also applies retroactively for placed farms. So it's always worth to get it at some point. But resources here. Looking really solid for Duhak to just market his way. Maybe selling some wood. Maybe selling some stone as well. Try to get to Imp fast. As for Tom, Tom is just expanding. Adding a TC here in the corner. Of course, already has the mill. Shorefish. Relative fast source of food. As Duhak is chilling. Did not scout the one corner where Tom is placing his TC. And Tom just chilling in front of Duhak's base with his scout. Tom, of course, having the 5 Tarkans here inside. Also going for a monk now, so there is a monastery for Tom. There is Tom's monastery. So Tom's monastery at home as Duhak clicks Imp. Now there's always 3 relics in the middle, and there is no possibility for a relic victory on this map. Not only because there is always 1 relic in the Defend the Wonder area, but this is the only map in the tournament that is not played on standard victory, because the Wonder triggers a countdown otherwise if played on standard. And Bloodlines coming in for Tom, who is very nicely expanding his food eco. 13 farms. This is the Wonder, the Defend the Wonder building. If players you lose this building, Madman, they will die. They will be defeated. And Seeds Workshop coming up for Duhak. And Duhak does see the scout here from Tom. Has a few of the Janissaries out. Could start potentially taking out the scout. And for Tom, Tom does not see that there is a Seeds Workshop coming up. Now Tom is starting to slightly pull ahead in terms of eco, but that is to be expected with the double TC play. And Tom moves his scout away. Scout is chilling on 5 HP. Turks, of course, get chemistry for free, and Duhak could start producing the cannons from the workshop right now. Yes, he's also going for a monastery. But here come the Tarkans. And I think Duhak will need a lot more Janissaries to deal with the Tarkans from Tom. Tom has a very solid 10 Tarkans out here on the field with 5 more in the queue. So could defend from potential bombard cannon threats if they were to move forward. Tom also going for chain warding armor. And Tom Scout still chilling. Will eventually see the bombard cannon. Or not. Bombard cannon moves away, but Janissaries not really that accurate from far away. Bombard cannon revealed itself. Ooh, and that was very... Ooh, that might be a bombard cannon snipe here. 3 Tarkans. Is it enough? Duhak, Senseville, runs for the repairs. Will repair in time. Janissaries will fire. TC is not being garrisoned, but both Tarkans die. As Tom's Tarkans are looping back. As Tom is snagging the 3rd relic from the middle. So 2 already in. Still could go for the relic in his starting area that I cannot see for some reason. I'm just blind. But 16 Tarkans out on the field. Husbandry on the way. Iron casting on the way. 2nd armor already in. And Duhak out here with 1 bombard cannon. Is making some spearmen. Of course the Turks don't get the pikeman upgrade. But some spearmen could definitely still be annoying. Ah, Tom went for the one in his base first, and then the 3rd one is over there. Alright, I was just being stupid. As we might have a big fight here. I think Tom could definitely just win this fight. if he chooses to attack. As the Janissaries start to go down, the bombard cannon goes down. And the Tarkin play from Tom here defends quite nicely. Tom did lose a few Tarkins to conversions and of course to the Janissaries. But overall, I think Tom came out slightly better in that fight. As Duhak is now adding in some archery ranges, could potentially go for some Cav archers, as Tom is trying to break through, and Tarkins break through buildings so fast. Always have to be wary about that. Now, of course, I don't think Tom wants to break through here with the castle. Tom also very wisely just checking the corner, seeing if everything is still alive, intact, if there's any eco to raid. And more archery ranges being added, and hand cannoneers coming out. So Duhak going for the full gunpowder comp here, plus monks. Now Duhak also has the stone for another castle and could potentially try to sneak out some villagers. Get a sneak castle like Tom is doing over here. Tom not in imp yet. Resources also not really there with only 1 on gold. Where is Tom? Well, he still has gold in his base. I was wondering. He definitely shouldn't have run out that fast. But of course is spending a lot of gold on the Tarkins. Bombard cannon once again goes down. Spearman goes down. And of course the Janissaries will go down as well, because Tom just has the numbers here. As Tom is selling wood, selling stone. And can Duhak see? Duhak does not see the castle from Tom coming up. And I think it would be wise for Tom to try to start pulling his Tarkins more to the left side, just to keep that castle hidden until he reaches Imp. But instead Tom just chooses to mine the forward gold here, and Duhak also does not see that. There is no town watch just yet. And with the Tarkins taking out the house, I think the chance of these villagers being spotted is getting lower and lower. Now I think Tom will just put them in the castle and heal them up a bit. Or just chill in front of the castle. Also a possibility, of course. And with that, Duhak finds the forward villagers from Tom. Tom will lose some villagers here, but can defend with the Tarkins. As he splits around quite nicely. Castle here from Duhak will probably not go up. There's just too much army, but Duhak has the castle here, could potentially make traps. But Duhak calls the GG. And Tom takes this set 2-1 or 2-0. So I will quickly go over the statistics and then fill in the form. And afterwards we can go to the stats once again, or not to the stats, to the standings. So I quickly need to find the form. And then fill it out. And the form is now submitted, so the standing should update in a few seconds. As up next, we have Frozen Hot Pepper Pizza versus GeologyWade. Also quickly update the stream title to reflect that. As we go into the next set, I also need to have the map draft. I am so not prepared for this. All right, let's go to the map draft. Update the map draft thingy. As we have Frozen Hot Pepper Pizza picking Creator, GeologyWade picking Pilgrims, and then Glacis will once again be map number 1 of this set. I will also need to add the Rex to the save game folder. Frozen versus GeologyWade. Game number 1, Glacis. And I think, Tom, that will put you into the next round. Although there is still some sets that need to be played. Some things that will need to be scheduled. And I think after tonight, there will be more info on who goes where in terms of playoff potentials. But for now, let's go to Frozen Hot Pepper Pizza versus GeologyWade. Game number 1 on Glade. Frozen plays the Berbers. Played the Berbers on this map before. And for GeologyWade, we have the Byzantines. Now, the last time I saw Frozen play this map, he played triple stable. Just full-on aggression, never stopped with the aggression. And I know that Frozen really likes his 1TC all in place. And with the amount of food that you just basically get for free here, as I must say, Frozen's base, honestly kind of small compared to the previous one we saw. Although GeologyWade's map also not the largest. As Frozen goes very far back for his woodline. We'll bring in some of his cows. Still have some cows unexplored here, but Frozen checking out in front to see if there's any cows over there. GeologyWade doing the same, also has 2 cows outside that he has not found just yet. And I do agree that it is a weird map gen, but I do think it is a fair one since both players are kinda stuck into their own little corner. As Frozen is now scouting a bit more forward, still not finding the cows over here. Also is missing this boar. But I'm sure he can manage with the boar that he has scouted, as Frozen is already sending a Vil forward. And this Vil could be in danger if GeologyWade, who is bringing his scout forward, finds the villager before this villager has a friend. Unfortunately for GeologyWade, he is sending his scout to the wrong side of the map. But given that we had map gens that were basically the entire width, very understandable that the scout is not going in the right direction. He's sending the scout in the right direction right now, but will potentially find Frozen's scout first. Although Frozen is running away with his scout again. Doc is up for Frozen Hot Pepper Pizza. And a Doc will be up for the Byzantine player here as well. And the Doc builder has a friend now. As we have a scout fight, GeologyWade does have the high ground here. Frozen micros to get the high ground, and GeologyWade will need to run away. And with that, I think these villagers are safe, as Frozen also got Loom in the meantime. For GeologyWade, no Loom in just yet, but Frozen's scout being damaged and having 31 HP, I think the villagers here are fine. And great job from both players to not lose their scout, to not overcommit. GeologyWade definitely has scouted this boar. You can see it over here, right next to the flag. A very beautiful Red Bull Wololo flag. As more and more villagers come forward. Now, I don't think that the villagers collecting fruit from the hare here can drop it off at the dock. But there could be a potential for a shorefish trick. Although that is a bit more micro intensive. As Frozen brings in his boar. Shoots it with the TC. But that is completely fine these days. The villagers will run all the way back home to the TC for GeologyWade. To drop off the hares. They won't. They will turn into fishermen and then will be able to drop off the 23 food at the dock instead. As there's 2 fishing ships out for GeologyWade, 21 vills, and already 1 minute of idle TC for Frozen. But Frozen is the first to click up. So we will see what Frozen will do with his faster uptime. I think after Loom here for GeologyWade. GeologyWade will click up as well. Very healthy eco, 22 villagers, 2 fishing ships, and of course a somewhat low HP scout. And I love what I'm seeing here. Walling in the Ville, not taking any chances, even if there's Loom already involved. And scouts just missing, just barely. But a very sneaky dock here. And with the Byzantines, I think we might see some fires in the near future. Now for Frozen, he is adding in his barracks. So might be thinking about scouts. There is nothing on gold for Frozen just yet, so could not really reasonably defend the forward dock pressure, I think. Could make 1 ship, and that would be all. But with this, GeologyWade is opening up an opportunity for Frozen to do damage on land. I think maybe GeologyWade has a bit too much on food and a bit too little on wood. He wants to go for a relatively fast barracks as Frozen is making his stable. And his food eco also looking very solid. Is adding in 1 spear. But instead of fires, we will see demos. And that is 4 villagers, 3 fishing ships that are in danger. Of course, fishing ships could potentially garrison. Villagers cannot garrison in the dock. That's the first demo. Hides in the dock for now. And here we go. Here comes the demo. Will the demo hit just 2 vills? Oh no! Demo hit the mill instead of the villagers, and the villagers live. They live to tell the tale. That is so unfortunate, but there is another attempt here. Another demo raft coming out, and the Smoothville still forward. Now this has caused Frozen to stay at home. Scouts are here, but not running toward his base just yet. And the villagers are running. Frozen is forced into some defense here. Could garrison the fishing ships. Chooses not to. GeologyWade not sure what to attack with the demo. And I think from here we might need to see some fires. Although his res is looking insane for clicking up to Castle Age. Already has the blacksmith. No market just yet. And as I say that, Hulks are coming out. I think with the Byzantines, fires might be a bit better, and misclick on the mill, oh, that is so unfortunate. This villager will definitely live as the galley without fletching, will not be able to do enough damage to kill the vill. But scouts are out, market is coming up, and this is a whole lot of exposed eco. Now there is a fishing ship over here. I love the fishing ship on the side to scout for potential sneak dogs. One hawk chilling, and scouts are looking about, trying to find that sneak vill. So that one sneak vill definitely saves GeologyWade here, who clicks up to the castle age without a barracks. Sneak vill unfortunately is found by the scouts. But this does mean scouts are not in his eco just yet. We'll give him some time to make a barracks, get some spearmen into crucial positions like over here, maybe on the wood line, potentially one on the gold as well. So immediately the spearmen being clicked. Scouts still attacking the house, and Hawk being very, very annoying, killing some fishing ships, disrupting the food eco, and Frozen is forced into making farms. Well, GeologyWade farm count 0. All his food eco just chilling near the shoreline. And also has one potential demo. I love the demo defensively at home as well. As we have one more hawk that is patrolling. House goes down, so GeologyWade after this house goes down has potential of getting housed. And Frozen clicks up as well, but GeologyWade already in very close to the castle age. Is trying to wall off as well. Now there is unwallable terrain here, so there's always going to be a gap. As we see a second stable coming up. And I think we will see some camels indeed. I would love to see night opening if you're up this early. But of course you don't know that you have the timing advantage here. Of course also the Berbers very, very likely to go for camels as well. But opening with 1 or 2 knights might just do a bit more damage to the villagers, which would be maybe better in terms of raiding. As GeologyWade now chooses to get horse color for his farms. Still has a very nice food eco here out front. Could potentially just add in a few more docks or mills along the shoreline. For Frozen, as his camel is going to fight with 2 camels versus the scout cavalry. Frozen getting bloodlines, getting foraging. And for Byzantines, of course, no bloodlines is getting husbandry, so the camels will be faster and the camels will happily take these fights against the scouts. As there is now also a forward monastery right next to the relic, so relic would be grabbed. And the knights, or camels instead, from Frozen, seeing camels from GeologyWade as well, will be in danger of being converted. As more and more camels are coming forward. More and more. Ooh, we even see a monk. Oh wait, that was just the monk. Again, we do see more hogs being produced. No, more demos being produced. And I assume that is demos from the forward dock. As GeologyWade currently housed, making more houses, taking out the mill, doing the job that the demo could not do. Monk will probably just grab the relic first, right? And this close to the monastery makes sense to just grab that, pop that in there. There we go. Monk will also heal up some of the weak ones. This dude is on 6 HP. But will return to full health given the time. But I do think, I'm not sure if I like that the monk is walking away here. I think the monk needs to be here to force the conversions. Maybe heal up this dude a bit more as well. As we are going for sanctity, trying to engage here with some spears. And 1 camel versus the 9 camels. Great fight. As the spearmen will continue to chase, but the camels will defend the water here. And Frozen, not really making any ships out of his dock. And Frozen mixing in some knights. Mill is taken out. And I do have to respect GeologyWade for just completely ignoring the fact that there is a dock here. And just hoping that Frozen does not produce anything out of his dock. Monk is healing up while the first monk is bringing in the relics. And here can we get a nice demo? We cannot. Unfortunately, Frozen realizes that there is a demo out here. So Frozen wisely backing up. Monk just healing, no conversions. Spearman though will go down, but looking very nice for GeologyWade, who is on 2 TCs behind all of this. Has expanded with a mill to the side, still fishing here with fishing ships. Has the demo in defense, eco at home completely untouched. And finally, after quite a while, Frozen's dock goes down, so no demo potential for Frozen. As Frozen will try to move to the side, Frozen is now being chased. Is he being chased? He is not being chased. Monks start their conversions, 3 separate conversions. This could be a big fight, no demo potential here. But units need to fight for both players. As more knights come in from Frozen. More units queued, no units queued, now finally units queued for Frozen again. But I think GeologyWade clears this up. Monk's here to heal, Monk's out of juice, cannot convert. And with that, Camel's here, and Frozen calling the GG after a horrible fight. So GeologyWade taking game number 1. And I have to say, I think it all started with the sneak dock here. With the sneaky dock just forcing Frozen at home. Then the faster Castle Age timing, untouched eco at home. Smoothly expanding out to the sides. But I think the sneak villager that died over here, I think that one was the real MVP of this game for GeologyWade. And up next we will have either Pilgrims or Crater, whichever home map Frozen chooses. And it looks like it is going to be Crater. So Frozen picking his own home map here. As we hop into game number 2. I also have to add that this could be the first set that Frozen will lose this tournament. And GeologyWade being very glad that there is no Sicilians here. It's going to be the Georgians. Now, of course, Georgians cannot lame, and laming is what we have seen on this map quite a bit. Just getting Loom, sending a Vil forward. And knowing Frozen, it is 100% going to be steppies. According to Chipmunk, it is definitely going to be steppies. It is definitely going to be steppies if we can get to Castle Age for Frozen. Now for the Aztecs, of course, relics are all in the middle, and having some relic control as the Aztecs generate 33% faster gold from the relics. So just having a few relics in would be very nice for the Aztecs. You see the mill or the lumber camp being placed. Mill placement is something that has been different from player to player. Frozen almost laming his own there, but with the Georgians, of course, would be completely fine. as these deer do not decay. Although he is now blocking his house foundation here with this deer, I believe. Very interesting for Frozen to start shooting his own ibex, in my opinion. At least this early. As there is no mill yet, there potentially just push them in a bit more. As we see GeologyWade just pushing in his deer. And we've seen a few different strategies with the ibex. We've seen mill here and then a mill at the top for the ibex. We've seen players like GeologyWade who are just pushing them in. We've also seen just one mill on the berries and then pushing the ibex on the berries. And we have also seen people sending their vills forward to lame the ibex from the other players so they could not get them. But Frozen, of course, if he does that, these ibex will just stay here, not rotting away. So could potentially just use his scout to push them in. Instead, we'll just go for the mill on top. And I do agree here that GeologyWade really needs to aggro in feudal. Potentially even just drush the wood line here. I think it all starts with taking out all the villagers on the wood line. As we see the mill coming up on the berries for GeologyWade. Who is looking quite solid in terms of eco is ahead of one villager because Frozen has 40 seconds of idle TC time. And GeologyWade has only 7, so roughly up one villager for GeologyWade by simply keeping his TC running. Now there comes a point here where I think you would just need to either go up to the berries, send some villagers forward, and what GeologyWade is doing here, I like it a lot. Not pushing the ibex all the way to the TC, just pushing them to the mill instead. And Loom is coming in. There is a barracks coming up. The food though is not really there to click up. You of course only start with one boar. So you really need to make use of these ibexes, and one poke for the Eagle Scout from GeologyWade. As Frozen finds out where GeologyWade's wood line is. Now Frozen behind this is getting a Loom himself. And will of course click up afterwards. So the barracks is up for GeologyWade, who clicks up first, not too far ahead. Actually. As we have the first militia being queued, and GeologyWade will need to find where Frozen is, but could reasonably figure out where by just simply hugging the edge of the map and looping around. Kind of like Frozen, just looping around where the edge is, and eventually you will run into a wood line, as the only real source of wood income will be on the outside of the map. And Frozen very wisely already walling up his wood line, knows that the wood line is very important. Still no mill on the berries, is going for some houses, still needs to make a barracks as well. And no barracks foundation, there is the barracks foundation, 3 villagers are going to rush it up, as Frozen is very late with his barracks. And for GeologyWade, Man-at-Arms is coming in, the militia are out on the field. And TC has been spotted. Eagle Scout, no damage yet, and could potentially kill some villagers here, although there is a lot of villagers from Frozen. So if the Vills fight back, as Man-at-Arms just comes in, having the hill, we still need to run away. And definitely doing some damage in terms of idle eco, but there will need to be an archer follow-up here, as Frozen very wisely just towers his wood line. And here we see first archers in the queue for GeologyWade, who managed to kill one villager. And still being very annoying, will need to be wary of the tower. Tower almost up. Losing another man-at-arms, so this is not a real threat anymore. No weak villagers to snipe. Although, he's saying that there's now one weak villager that is a potential threat for the archers. Archers and spear moving forward. No fletching just yet, no barracks. But woodline here for GeologyWade now being walled in. Frozen going for both of his eco upgrades. No eco upgrades just yet for GeologyWade. And I think Frozen might want to play a bit more defensive here. Trying to get his food eco sorted for his... He made an archery range in defense. So not going for scouts just yet. Usually what I know from Frozen is that he likes his scout openings. But maybe given we're up against the Aztecs, knows that it's definitely going to be archers and chooses to play defensive skirms into potential step lancers in the Castle Age. And skirms already out. Skirms versus archers and spears. I think the archers will have a very bad time fighting that, and it will need to be eagles or skirms from GeologyWade in defense. Behind this, a very nice macro here. Some farms drop down still on the berries, and Frozen just completely off of his berries. Has not even attempted yet to make a mill there. Some pokes from the spear. As the idle time for GeologyWade also starts to rack up a bit as we go for horse color. And farms will receive some extra food retroactively with horse color after the new patch. As Frozen now goes out for the gold mine. GeologyWade, of course, making archers is already on gold. 6 villagers, 7 villagers now on gold. 1 villager going all the way around because, of course, why not? Blacksmith coming up, and with that, that is the second building for GeologyWade needed to click up. But food not really there. Could potentially market, and as I say market, Frozen is going for a market, is also going for his backberries finally. As there is one eagle, but the eagle chooses to back away. As we now also see double bit X coming in for GeologyWade. Wood very solid. Is walling quite nicely in front of all his food eco here. Of course, this map is very hard. There is no potential to full wall, given that this is unwallable terrain. And we do see skill mill armor coming in. So there is definitely a potential for second barracks and more eagles. But we would need to get these villagers onto wood. Instead, we have a market coming up. And with that market, I think we might see some market abuse as Frozen is relatively close to clicking up. We'll sell some wood for gold. And could potentially click up, I think, 1 or 2 more vills and Frozen could be up. And as I say that, could just force drop as well with all these villagers and be up. Here we see Frozen clicking up to the Castle Age. And GeologyWade miles behind, clicking up to the Castle Age. With the tower being here, I'm not sure if trying to raid here is the correct play. Villagers could just garrison in the tower. Fletching now being researched, so GeologyWade will really need to do some damage here with his army. And with that, the skirms from Frozen. No blacksmith upgrades just yet. But archers are definitely in danger here to just die being one-shotted by the skirms. And I think the eagles still need to be a bit afraid of the amount of skirms here. GeologyWade just runs away. And Frozen. First stable up, second stable up, and I think we will see Step Lancers in the near future. Blacksmith coming up as well. And I think double stable steppies with GeologyWade being this far away from clicking up might be over. But second barracks is coming up and GeologyWade could still try to make something happen here. It's a very, very far ahead in terms of eco. 3 villagers ahead in terms of idle TC time. And of course then the Castle Age time where there was no villagers being produced. As the Eagles choose to engage with skirms. But Bloodlines is in and the first steppies are on the way. Scout will be taken out. But I don't think that the Feudal Age Eagles can deal with the Castle Age Step Lancers. As the Step Lancers are forced to deal with the Eagles in the eco. Although could just leave it to the TC. And Frozen, 4 steppies on the field. More being produced. Keeping some at home. Keeping some near the gold in defense. And GeologyWade actually markets his way. Sells basically his soul. To get up. Is going for another lumber camp. There is no hole here. There is no hole here. That is good to know. Does have some villagers here outside of the walls that could potentially be hit. And Frozen groups up 7 of his Step Lancers and just sends them forward. There are archers here in defense. There's a lot of spears in defense. As GeologyWade is going for a second mining camp to get some more gold, trying to wall up. And the longer Frozen waits with an attack, the better it's going to be for GeologyWade actually. Frozen will take the high ground here and potentially will just run them straight to the wood line. GeologyWade, having the slower army, will need to anticipate where he's going to be hit. Is wisely defending villagers on the gold, but need to worry about his woodline as well as the steppies show up out of the darkness, kill villagers. That is 1 villager, 2 villagers, 3 villagers, and a 4th one going down now. And quick walls are needed. House walls coming up. And these steppies, 6 total kills, 4 of which were eco. So far, just taking down houses, taking out the lumber camp. And Frozen clicks pikeman, Frozen clicks crossbowman, and Frozen clicks chainmail armor. The lumber camp will need to be repaired with more villagers, and these crossbows and pikemen needs to attack here. There's no reason to wait. There's no reason to wait at all if you're GeologyWade. And the pikemen actually do quite a nice job here, cleaning up all the steppies with the crossbows behind. Most of the steppies will be cleared, but Frozen already has a second group of steppies on the field. And all things considered, I have to say GeologyWade is doing a great job just defending, trying to keep his eco running. Is now going for Bodkin Arrow. And going for a monastery in the middle. This is a very, very ambitious monastery. I like that it's in the middle in terms of just grabbing the relics fast. But with this much steppy presence out on the field for Frozen, I think that monastery will go down faster than it went up. Especially if Frozen catches wind of this monastery, which he will now see. And crossbows from GeologyWade are forced to retreat. There are skirms, although skirms have 0 upgrades for them, just feudal age skirms. So crossbows could just fight this and be fine. Monks are in queue. And Frozen, 1 TC, all inning this. So many steppies on the field, 14 steppies. And Monks, currently just garrisoned inside of the monastery, will be in danger of hopping out. As the crossbows choose to stay at home. And I think it might be wise to unqueue this monk. Not lose any more monks. So we see a university coming. Ballistics is definitely needed. Monks went down. Monastery is down. And 0 relics were collected by the monks inside, unfortunately. But no more raids from Frozen. I would have expected Frozen to be a lot more active with his raids, trying to pressure the woodline. Now behind this, Frozen's woodline still untouched. No overchops. No, there is just a tree there. So no overchops for Frozen. Also no overchops, but 2 palisade gates. Definitely a weak point there. As we see Squires and Ballistics coming in for GeologyWade. Wants to have his pikeman a bit faster. As he chooses to move forward across the map. Chooses not to move forward across the map. Does not see where Frozen's army is. As we now have 3 villagers on stone for GeologyWade. Really like that. That is definitely a potential for some outposts. And Frozen, as I say, that first outpost comes up on the gold. And villagers are immediately forced to build houses. As all the skirms went down, all the skirms but one lone skirmisher survived. Ballistics is in, so all the shots will very likely hit. But with these numbers of steppies and also a siege workshop with some scorpions, I think GeologyWade will really need to micro his heart out here to keep his hopes alive in this game. And as I say that, all the crossbows go down. 0 army for GeologyWade. But still has the eco lead. Still has the eco lead. And what can the Aztecs do from this position to deal with Frozen's step raids? As Frozen loses at least 2 steppies to the TC, will immediately just dive for the woodline. GeologyWade has stone, so will stone wall behind, but lumber camp is still the weak spot here. Will need to stone wall behind as well for the lumber camp, and then just make a new lumber camp. And it's sending in the pikemen one by one. That is a fight the step lancers will happily take. Some exposed villagers going down. As we now see men-at-arms queued. Might be a misclick. There it is. Was a misclick. More pikemen on the field. Would love to see more barracks in this case if we're going full pikeman defense. But this woodline, no walls, and the step lancers are in. And I think that might be a GG call here very soon. As there is 18 villagers here looking to escape, trying to not die from this much aggression. And one lone villager here survives and makes it to the TC. Will be healed up a bit. Behind all of this, Frozen, not really making a lot more villagers, has 13 minutes of idle TC, really is all inning. Does not see the castle coming up here from GeologyWade. Now, I would love this castle to be more and more aggressive, but of course, very dangerous if you're building a castle this forward already without army. And some crossbows trying to hold the line, but 5 crossbows and some pikes. Not really the numbers you're looking for here if you're GeologyWade. GeologyWade can safely take some gold here. And with ballistics being in, we'll take out possible reinforcements here from Frozen. Frozen only on 2 stables, but GeologyWade calls the GG. Nonetheless, has nothing to deal with Frozen's Steppe Lancer army. And I think just not pressuring enough in Feudal Age, but it's already so hard to do enough damage early on. That's what caused GeologyWade here to lose this game, and we will go to game number 3. And I will need to add the rec for that as well, as the final map will be Pilgrims. And thanks for the follow. I will quickly refresh my Rex folder, get game number 3 in here, and Pilgrims is on the way. Now Frozen, up until this point, had not lost a single map. Has not lost a single game, so GeologyWade is the first one to take a game off of Frozen Hot Pepper Pizza, and we will try to figure out if he can do it again and potentially win the set. And Frozen, oh, restarts. Frozen just brings all of his villagers from the starting island. No dock. There is a dock up for GeologyWade, who is the Spanish. Has not placed a TC yet and will be later with his TC. Regardless if he placed it earlier, because Frozen just has more villagers building it. Frozen is choosing to make a dock, but is choosing to make it on the main island. And I will quickly, very quickly close my curtains because the sun is being very annoying. But I will keep the game going. Follow Frozen's transport ship. Alright, that is much better. And GeologyWade has his DC almost finished. Frozen, more houses coming up, is still housed. Has Loom queued behind the villagers instead of in front of the villagers. And for GeologyWade, having his fishing ship out already, it's a bit more smoothing eco here. Is also going for some sheeps. Scouting here, has scouted the entire shoreline, but was a bit too early scouting here in terms of finding the dock position. As for Frozen, not really scouting around that much with his transport ship. And you can definitely tell Frozen is a bit more unexperienced on this map compared to GeologyWade. Now, in an earlier set where GeologyWade played, there was an insane set playing Spanish versus Saracens. And Frozen says, pretty sure you already got this one in the bag. Having a terrible opener here. But who knows what Frozen can do here. There is definitely a lot of things that can go wrong still. And Lithuanians is definitely a great civ on Nomad start map, starting with the 100 extra food from the TC. Yes, the villagers keep pumping, fishing ships keep pumping. And Frozen will need to make more houses relatively soon, otherwise he will be housed. And for GeologyWade, we will see a second lumber camp, of course starting with a lumber camp over here. And making a lot of houses on his starting island. As Frozen will scout, well, not scout where the dock location is exactly, will see the fishing ships, so could reasonably figure out where the dock is. And Frozen already going in for a second dock. I have to say that might be a bit early for a second dock. Usually we see the second dock coming up as players click up. But we'll see what happens. Maybe Frozen really wants to pump out these fishing ship numbers, as we do see in both docks there are fishing ships queued. Which also means there will be a need for more and more houses. And for GeologyWade, a very forward second dock here. But GeologyWade, oh, I thought he would have clicked up by now, actually. But instead has 4 more vills queued behind this one. But could potentially maybe force drop a bit. Especially since there is some food from the boar here. Unqueue some villagers, which we saw do right now. More houses coming up. And there we go. GeologyWade is on the way to Feudal Age after he gets Loom. And that gives Frozen some time to collect some more food. And Frozen could go out for this boar. And have it as an extra source of food income. As Frozen is sending villagers across the map. Frozen does not know where GeologyWade is. And will go out for a gold mining camp. Frozen's scouting. Gold mines really far away for Frozen. For GeologyWade, he is on gold right next to his TC. And GeologyWade is a bit behind. Frozen already with 10 fishing ships. But I love how forward this dock is. Now, GeologyWade does see the dock here for Frozen. Also scouted where the TC is. So already has a nice target for a potential castle. But I think before any Castle Age shenanigans, we will see, and as I say that, I think this will wall himself in and we will not be able to leave. But we will see. Maybe I'm wrong. But maybe this house will be needed to delete it eventually. But I will think we will see water aggression first before we see Castle Age shenanigans. And as I say that, 3 Hawks are in the queue for GeologyWade. And third dock coming up for Frozen. And with the 11 fishing ships Frozen, I think making the correct call here. But for GeologyWade, I think might just open with 3 fishing ships, or 3 warships, I should say, not 3 fishing ships. 3 warships will take out some fish. Now, Frozen could, of course, just garrison, but I don't think Frozen remembers. And welcome in chat, this Dino. How are you doing? Long time. It's been a long time. And behind all of this pressure, GeologyWade also manages to click up first, and GeologyWade does see the stone over here. So good transition onto stone. Also build an outpost somewhere. As there is a horse, this is a horse. Wild horse, don't mind my mods, but the wild horse do not have any food on it. Hawks taking out the galleys. And no upgrades in the blacksmith for Frozen. Frozen did make a blacksmith. And it's continuing to make more galleys. And not on stone just yet for GeologyWade, who is 1 minute away from Castle Age, while Frozen has not even clicked yet. As Frozen once again housed. And GeologyWade playing this really, really well. Just playing as water for now, and I think we will see the medium warships upgrade once he reaches Castle Age. And with that, should be very reasonably in a position to win water, as we see a fire coming out as well. Fires, of course, do really well against the galleys on the current patch, as they have the same movement speed, so microwing away is not really an option anymore. And GeologyWade just chooses to engage. A lot of the warships go down for Frozen Hot Pepper Pizza, who has the resources to click up, is missing his second building. Warships are down, only one galley left for him. And Frozen says, I have no idea what the devs were thinking with the Hulk. GG. And so GeologyWade taking game number 3 and is the first one to beat Frozen Hot Pepper Pizza this tournament. And GeologyWade just very, very aggressive on the water. And Frozen not really sure what to do against the Hulks. And with that, I will go to the standings, quickly fill out the form, and we will see the updated standings shortly. Right, the standings are now updated. Frozen still on top of the bracket. Still has one more set to play, which will be played tomorrow. And tomorrow's set will potentially be for the first spot, as it is going to be Frozen Hot Pepper Pizza versus Soches tomorrow at 17:30 GMT. But for now, we have one set left, and the set that we have left is Mike the Guy versus Pisty in Group 1. So I will quickly update the stream title. And afterwards, I also need to get the correct recs in here. Yes, we have Pisty versus Mike, game 1 and game 2 over here. And for where is the Pisty versus Mike draft? I need to find the map draft. There it is. Alright, let's get the map draft for Pisty versus Mike. As game number 1 will be on Northern Crossings, and then we will have one more game of potential Glacis and or Pilgrims to finish off this set. And I really think we are going to see some bangers. I see the sifts here for both Northern Crossings and for Glacis. I won't spoil anything for game number 2. But I think this is going to be very, very fun. But with that being said, let's hop into the game. Game number 1, we have Mike in the red playing as the Italians, and Pisti in the purple playing as the Wu. Now the Wu of course get some food from their military buildings, from their docks, so could potentially make for some very fast uptimes. But Italians having the cheaper uptimes could potentially counter that a bit. But I think for Pisti here, we could see some Gian swordsmen. And Mike might struggle with that depending on where the aggression is coming from. As we see a woodline now, Mike bringing in his first boar already, very early boar. Very nice. And Pisti also going for his first wood villager. As we already see Pisti making a loop, Mike could potentially lose some sheep that are scouting the shorelines. But pulls them away in time. As for Pisti pushing there all the way from the other side of the woodline. And Mike not really bothering with pushing, does see his sheep here. Chooses not to collect them, but sheep are not in danger of being taken by the transport ship. Mike just not moving his transport ship at all actually. Just no scouting. So Pisti's score already miles ahead in terms of scouting here. Mike needs to remember his transport ship here in game number 1. But Mike goes for a dock in the back. Pisti did not see that. So Pisti might come towards the front. Might want to look there for a dock as well. Now of course you can always just walk stuff across here. Transport ships are not needed. And as I say that, Mike still has not collected these sheep. Still is not pushing in his deer. Pisti is pushing in his second deer over here. Is going for a forward side dock. So no docks in the back for Pisti. And that is definitely some name design there. But first fishing ship already out for Mike, who finally found his sheep over here. And remembered he has a transport and is using it. And if he chooses to scout the front first, we'll immediately just find Pisti's dock, which is very nice. Mike slightly ahead in terms of eco. Mainly due to the fact that his fishing ships are out a bit earlier. And Mike finding Pisti's dock location. And thanks for the follow, this dino. And Mike also pushing in the deer. So long distance pushing for both players. As we see Pisti struggling here a bit with... Oh, and the deer resets. No, that is so annoying. It is the last deer here as well. Could potentially push some deer from over here, but I think we'll choose to just ignore the deer pushing for now. So Mike will get loom and will be able to click up afterwards, has both his buildings and has the resources, being the Italians. And for Pisti has 3 more villagers in queue. So could potentially just try to make some fast castle shenanigans happen and go full Gian swordsman from there. We'll of course maybe need a mill on the berries for the markets. As Pisti cancels some villagers, clicks loom as well and clicks up to the castle age. Or clicks up to the fuel age. slightly ahead now in terms of eco. Mike clicking up 19 villagers, Pisty clicking up 22 villagers. So Mike will have the advantage if he chooses to go water. Having 4 on gold, I think he will do so. Scouting for Pisty. Just sees Mike Doc's location, doesn't know about anything else. Has scouted a bit with the scout over here as well. And is going for a barracks at home. Mike adding in a dock in the front as well. Will not be on time for immediate feudal age pressure, but could potentially start being annoying. Pisty is still 1 minute away from the feudal age himself, and Mike opens with a hawk. Mike here could take some damage from the villager on his transport ship, as Mike is getting double bid-axe. He's going for a barracks at home. Nothing yet out of the front dock. Would love to see something out of the front dock. As Mike deletes and places a house elsewhere. Is garrisoned with some villagers. Did see the scout from Pisty. And for Pisty, getting double bid-axe is getting some militia, and the militia are moving into the transport ship. Man-at-Arms upgrade on the way. More hawks in queue for Mike. Mill being dropped. Second dock here for Pisty. And with the second dock being in the same location here, it will be in favor of Pisty to win the water in the front here. As we have one villager from Mike coming forward for another dock. But with the men-at-arms there, of course, Mike does not know that. Scout being here. The scout being here is actually a good thing for Mike. As he sees the transport ship, men-at-arms are here. And I think that will be one dead villager for Mike. As the docks are garrisoned for Pisty. No fishing ships working, but fishing ships are safe, at least for now. And Mike wants to place the forward range. Cannot place the forward range. Villager will die. And Mike, recognizing he needs to do some damage, will try to kill some men-at-arms with the hawks. Could potentially use the scout here as well, although the scout on 2 HP might not find a lot of value there. And Mike chooses to wall off. I think that should be fine over there. But I think you never know with hills and Age of Empires. Pisty now goes for a market blacksmith. Resource-wise, not really close in terms of clicking up. Mike relatively close, especially as the Italians is forced to run his villager away from the shoreline. Could just make one galley and be fine to deal with all of this. Forward range for Mike was removed and is placed on the other side. And the villager is already there. And Pisty has no clue what is going on over there. Mike finally going for the mill. The mill, of course, is needed for the markets. And here we see one galley coming up. Here we see some Hulk on Hulk action as more Hulks pop out on the front side. And Mike is going for some galleys. Fishing ships are being put back to work. Not all of them though. The range will complete. And with that, Mike will have both of his buildings to click up. Won't have the food just yet, but is relatively close. Could start producing some archers maybe. As the Hulks come over. And Mike will need to do something here. And of course the men-at-arms or the infantry from the Wu will heal over time. I'm not sure what the healing rate is. Apparently for Pisty it's currently 10 HP per minute. Mike forced to run away here. Did take care of the men-at-arms. And the scout will not heal. That is a Georgian bonus. And Mike clicks up to Castle H as well. Is a bit behind Pisty. And I am not sure if I like the archery range here, given that Pisty can just defend with the Wu infantry unit, the Jian swordsman. As they do very well against archers. And nothing yet coming out of the range for Mike either, so does not really have a big mass of units that can pop out on Castle H. Also no fletching. There is a blacksmith at least. So could get fletching. And here we see archers finally being queued. Fletching on the way as well. And just more houses here. And Pisty does not see any of that, is just sending his villagers to the other side. It's going for scale mill armor for his infantry. Has one barracks and some fires, and Mike definitely is losing water. Is redocked over here. Still has to dock here as well. And I think we will see some Jian swordsmen coming out relatively soon. And as I say that, they are... Where is the barracks? Oh, there is a forward barracks here for Pisty. So Pisty going for medium warships. Mike, I think, will try to go for one demo. Will get Bodkin arrow for his crossbows, or for his archers still. No crossbows, just 3 archers, not really the force you would want. And forward siege workshop as well for Pisty. So Pisty in a great position here. Mike does have the barracks at home, but I do think that Jian swordsman will deal with anything that comes out of the barracks for Mike as the dock goes down. And behind all of this pressure, Pisty is adding in a second TC. As the scout goes down. Mike's scout still on 2 HP. And so far just 3 Jian swordsmen. 4th on the way, 1 mangonel, and Mike still making archers over here. Is also getting the crossbow upgrade and has a second range out here. And will really need to start putting on the pressure, as Mike is still on 1 TC. He is going for ballistics, or at least a university wanting to get ballistics. But I do think with the Jian swordsman here, and Mike not really that heavily on stone yet, Mike could start to struggle here. As the Jian swordsman will dive the gold, Mike does not react in time and will lose some villagers. As that is at least 1 villager down, 2 villagers down, 2 villagers down, 3 villagers down. Mangonel in the mix now, Scorpion in the mix. Mike loses his entire gold. Has not reacted over here. Finally reacts, but Mike has just lost so many villagers here. As there is more coming and Mike taps out of game number 1. Cannot deal with the aggression from Pisty. And I think was just a bit too slow with the archers on this side. And it, of course, did not have a counter to the Jian swordsmen that were showing up. And very well played from Pisty indeed. Very, very nice plays. Very solid water play as well from both players, but Pisty just having all his docks in one place just means that the reinforcements are better. Like, I'm not sure, like for Mike, his forward dock needed to be reinforced with everything that came from the back, which then needed to travel all the way around, and for Pisty it was just always in the same place. But with that being said, we go to game number 2. We have Glacis coming up. And for Glacis, we have Mongols. I think my audio is better. As we have Glacis game number 2, Portuguese for Pisti, and Mike playing as the Mongols, which he paid an exorbitant amount for. A total of 69 coins for the Mongols for Mike. And if we quickly go back to the Civ draft, we can see here as well that 69 coins for the Mongols for Mike is the most expensive Civ cost this tournament. And we are starting here in the Dark Age. We're not in the Feudal Age, so that gives players a lot of opportunity to do some shenanigans. Of course, there is unwallable terrain behind the walls, so no walling the front of your base and being fine. And with Mike playing as the Mongols, with all the chickens here, might be great thinking from Mike. For Pisti, as the Portuguese have been reworked. They now can research circumnavigation, which will set the entire map to explored. This will not mean that Pisti can see everything Mike is doing. It will just mean basically what happens at a Black Forest start, where you can see the entire mini-map, but still have the fog of war that you usually have. And Pisti has scouted most of his base. He's coming forward with the scout, just trying to figure out what to do. And Mike brings in his second boar. Of course, as the Mongols could go for some really fast uptimes. We see 3 on wood. So I don't think we will see a dock from Mike. Now for Pisti, also 3 on wood. 4th one coming in now. So I think it will be no dock from either player, as Pisti's scout is really, really forward. Just scouting the edge of Mike's base. And Pisti going out for his second boar, trying to figure out where does Mike's wall begin, where does Mike's wall end. And Mike going out for a dock, still with just 3 villagers on wood. 3rd one here making a house. So I was not able to use the Mongol hunt bonus on the wild chickens over here. At least not yet. Does have enough villagers here to deal with any potential scout. Pisti will see the dock, will see the vills, and will not engage. And Pisti is just now going out for his dock. And Mike is adding in a few more villagers on wood over here. So could potentially start thinking about adding in some fishing ships as well. And Pisti is really just doing loops around the dock, wanting to see how many villagers there are. So we see the first fishing ship coming out for both players. 5 on wood now for Pisti. And still 4 on wood for Mike, who is clicking loom and potentially, yes, Feudal Age click behind it. So Mike, definitely the first one here to click up. And we'll need to add some more villagers to wood. Some villagers that are walking a long way to collect some wood, unfortunately. It's definitely another thanks DE moment. As Mike has 1 fishing ship, chooses not to make any more. Pisti also just 1 fishing ship, does have the mill here as well. And no mills for Mike. Mike also... Oh, remember, there's no berries, at least not here in the starting base. There is some berries here that the Pisty could potentially take to get some extra wood. But no berries in the starting base. As Mike is now scouting Pisty's base, does see the wood line. Will see the villagers on gold. No mining camp yet for Pisty. And as I say that, of course, the mining camp is revealed. But great scouting from Mike. Figuring out where all of Pisty's eco is. Although I think most of the fighting will happen at the front of the base here. And Mike has his barracks up. Has a house coming up and is opening with a stable. I did see a range there for a second. I was a bit confused given that there is nothing on gold. No sneak docks from either player, so relatively safe. But I think sneak forward docks on the side and the demo. That's definitely 5 vill kills there for Mike, or 4 vill kills here for Pisty. If they of course would do so. And Mike just going all out, 5 scouts in the queue. And Pisty so far is just getting up his barracks, so nothing yet to defend. And if Mike just chooses to rush out with 3 or 4 scouts already, could potentially find a whole lot of damage over here. But of course has to be wary about the dock, which could potentially be used for demos or for warships. As we have a blacksmith behind this coming up for Mike. Mike floating quite a bit of food and is now moving out with his scouts. And what damage can Mike find this game? As we have Mike not engaging, spear is out, so Mike needs to be careful. And 1 villager down, 2 spears are out, so Mike will need to run away. But Mike getting the first eco kill this game, also chooses to engage with the fishing ship. Chooses to engage with the fishing ship on the other side, and Mike doing a great job of pulling away the spears. Fishing ship goes down, does take a poke from the spearman though. And Pisty here just playing full spear defense. Mike potentially could start to think about a range as well. It's going for more mills on the side. It's thinking about armor and 6 scouts out for Mike. No more in queue. Does have a very healthy queue of villagers. So as long as Mike is not getting housed, the TC will keep on running. As we now have fire out to help to defend, and that is a terrible engagement there for Mike. All the scouts are weak. As the attack upgrade for the scouts come in as well. And here we see the range being made for Mike. Behind this range as well from Pisty, also getting the blacksmith. And I don't think Mike will use... Oh, never mind. Mike will use his blacksmith for fletching as well. I was wondering where that final gold went to. And I agree with Huggy. I definitely hoped to see more forward docks, more demos, as Mike is forced to run away once again. Low HP villagers though, so... Ooh, very nice split from Mike with the micro. Is looping back for the weak fills. The weak fills. Mike spots the weak fills. Will the archers pop out here? 1 weak villager goes down. 2nd weak villager goes down. Mike loses his scout though. As 1 more fire pops out. And with that, I think Mike needs to start thinking about a transition onto gold. But in a great position here in game number 2. And demos indeed are very, very expensive in terms of gold, but if you can get some nice hits, like there's just 2 villagers here, might not be worth it. But over here, if you have 1 demo here, 7 villagers, that is definitely worth it. And Mike, floating a bit of food, is adding in more scouts. Love the scouts adding here. Also love that there is going to be a market. And Mike, knowing where most of Pisty's eco is, can definitely start to think about rage. Pisty already very wisely walled off the stone. TC is safe because there's villagers around, and the woodline, there's some spears around. And no bloodlines for Mike. I think Mike needs to wait with bloodlines until he reached, or at least clicks the castle age. And market almost up. I think as soon as the market is up, Mike can just sell 100 wood and make his way up. Spearmen though are out of position, and Mike could potentially find some more value here, but chooses to just run away with the scouts. But this is forcing a lot of investment from Pisty, who has now 23 houses. Will soon be just playing as the Huns, as more villagers go down from Pisty. More scouts go down from Mike as well. But Mike has clicked up to the castle age. And could start to think about more step lancer potential. Mike could not garrison the dock in time. Will need to use his skirms here. Although I am not sure if 2 skirms versus 2 or 5 archers is enough. It will be if they run into the TC fire. And both players have fletching. We see bloodlines now on the way. Armor coming in for the skirms as well. And Mike is forced to abandon this woodline. And villagers here running away as well. We see triple range from Mike. Now I wonder, is that an over-investment, or does Mike simply wants to go for cav archers? As we see nothing being produced out of the ranges just yet. And 2 skirms are so far enough to be annoying. We'll deal with the pikes, but archers are on the woodline once again. Mike will fight this. And 1 villager goes down as Castle Age comes in, and scouts are here to save the day as another villager dies. But I think that will be the last villager to die on this woodline for now. And Pisty has clicked up to the Castle Age. As Mike is going for Bodkin Arrow and is producing cav archers indeed. So no step lancers, but a lot of cav archers as Pisty is continuing to add archers. Is now adding in his second range. Did Pisty see the ranges from Mike? Pisty did not see the ranges. Or no, Pisty did not see the ranges. That is wild for Mike to have 3 ranges and Pisty sees 0. And with that, Mike is looping around. Will find the gold. Gold is exposed though. And of course, Pisty saw the skirms, but not seeing that there is triple range. As Mike will kill 1 villager, potentially kill a second one. And this cav archer here is blocking the foundation of the lumber camp. So these vills are just chilling, just hanging out. And Pisty is losing a whole lot of villagers for nothing. Ooh, this is great for Mike. This is terrible for Pisty. Pisty is forced to run. Is not on gold anymore. Still has... No, he also kicked off of wood. So these 3 cav archers are great for Mike. Meanwhile, in the front here, scouts are still going down for Mike. More scouts went down here. Pisty forced into a second TC just to keep the eco safe. And with all the cav archers from Mike, more cav archers coming forward. And with no resources, no gold for Bodkin, I think Mike is in a great position to start taking fights. Will of course need to micro properly still with these numbers. But could potentially sit some of these cav archers behind wood lines, could still be camping the gold over here. But for now is choosing to run away to safety. Mike, finally we see one demo on the field. And I agree. Would love to see the TC maybe over here instead, so that there is some safe gold income as well. As Pisty still 0 villagers on gold. And Mike will now add in his second TC, which is on a wood and gold combo. Also is going for ballistics. As Mike is just being annoying with these cav archers, trying to figure out where to do the damage next. And I think might be a bit early to engage. Might want to engage with ballistics, although fletching still all these crossbows have. As Pisty is kind of forced to move away. Third TC now for Pisty. As the cav archers in the back still being annoying. And eco-wise, relatively equal. Mike could potentially go out for a third TC as well. Would love to see a third TC like out on the sides. Or maybe even more in the middle. As Mike researches horse color, wanting to add some farming eco as well, besides all the food eco he got going on for free on the water. And with that, cav archers at home still chilling. Cav archers over here still attacking a house. And Pisty's resources looking really close to getting that castle up. But where will Pisty place that castle? As the archers and some spears move forward for Pisty. Cav archers though, they show up on the waterline, take out the fire, take out some villagers, take out some spears. And we do see villagers moving forward. Mike though is stuck on the buildings. So is Pisty. And the demo is here, but is in danger of being taken out by the archers. The villagers from Pisty are sneakily moving all the way to the top. There are some sneak scrums here from Mike as well. As the archers are being found by the cav archers. Villagers still roaming around, but Pisty loses most of his crossbowmen and will make a castle in his own eco. And Mike here being very annoying, but crossbows having slightly better range will deal with the cav archers. So far, Mike has the eco lead only on 2 TCs versus Pisty's 3. But Pisty has a lot of idle TC time for 3 TCs. Does not have the food eco with only 4 on food. Having lost a lot of the water food income that he used to have. Mike will need to be wary of the dog. No demos, unfortunately. But demos could always hop out, of course. And Mike does see the triple TC for Pisty, so might need to start thinking about a castle of his own, which he is currently thinking about. 10 on stone. And a shit ton of farms. Mike, when all these farms are completed, 16 farms. And is still just making... Oh, this is a house. I thought it was a mill. Would have loved this to be a mill. But Mike in a very solid position. Scrums here are being taken out by the scout. And Mike, with a very solid amount of cav archers, is continuing to produce more at this position. I would love to see... maybe stop with the cav archers and try to invest a bit more in food eco to get up, because you did see your opponent had the castle up. There is one sneak villager here from Pisty, but with the bear there will unfortunately die, and no sneak dock will be made by Pisty. Unfortunately. Mike once again moving forward. Gold eco, very solid. But unfortunately, food eco not really there just yet. And behind all this, Pisty has clicked up to the Imperial Age in a relative safe TC. It's going out 2 stone for more castle potentials. As Mike comes forward once again, trying to do some damage to the eco. Pisty only on 47 villagers. Mike on 75 with more in the queue. And Mike once again splitting up some of these units. Could find great value here. Could find some value here. Pisty adding in another TC. Will it be on time? As 1 villager goes down, 2 villagers go down, 3 villagers, 4 villagers. And Mike could definitely deny this TC. Does see it with the other Cav archers. And Pisty might reach Imp, but what can he do with Imp? He has 1 organ gun, 14 crossbows, and 30 villagers when all the dust is settled here. 33 villagers for Pisty. As he reaches Imp, deletes the TC here at 90%. Does not feel great. And Mike in a really solid position is going for a monastery as a second building, rushing it up with all the villagers, clicks up to the Imperial Age. And Pisty calls the GG as Pisty has no answer to Mike's Mongol Cav archers over here. So Mike definitely in a very, very solid position for most of the game with the early scout raids and making use of the most expensive civ in the entire, that was over here, in the entire tournament, having to spend 69 coins on the Mongols. But with that win, it may or may not be worth it, as we will go to game number 3 to finish off today's sets of casting. Or at least finish for now. As we hop into game number 3, which will be on Pilgrims. So over to the map draft, we have Pilgrims. Game number 3, Pisty's home map. Now Pisty has some great civs for Nomad style maps, especially the Dravidians could be a great pick here. For Mike, I know that Mike picked the Koreans earlier, but Bohemians could potentially also be a play here. And as we are entering the later stages of the tournament, I did see a lot of players just using specific civs on specific maps. If you are kind of guaranteed your playoff position, might be wise to start switching it up a bit so players cannot prepare strats. As we hop into the standings real quick, I think Mike, with the result from this set, is basically guaranteed to at least have top 3 position. But with this win over Pisty, could secure his number 1 spot. And with that being said, let's hop into game number 3. We have Mike playing as the Koreans, 3 villagers on the starting island, 1 dock up already. TC is completed for Mike, and Dravidians for Pisty, who also has a dock and 3 villagers on his starting island. No villagers on food for either player. That kind of surprises me. Usually I like to have 1 villager out on the shorefish next to the dock, but both players are just not doing that, which is completely fine, especially with all the hunt around. And of course we start with sheeps that we can take for food as well. Both players with a boar near their TC. Mike scouting. Not the greatest. Did scout the back. I love scouting the back. There is so much food here. If you eventually potentially win water, making a dock here to keep all this fish a bit more efficient. And for Pisty's scouting, Pisty's did do the same on Mike's side. Does not really know where Mike is. Has no real signs to know where Mike is just yet. But Mike, 2 fishing ships out versus Pisty's 2 fishing ships out as well. Now the Dravidians, of course, with the extra wood that they get on an age up, very likely to win water. Fishing ships also a bit more efficient. The Dravidian fishing ships will carry 15 extra, so the longer trips they make, the more efficient that becomes. And Pisty, 4 fishing ships in the queue. Mike, only 1 fishing ship in the queue. So Pisty really looking to add to that fishing eco. This is Mike, currently 12 on wood, waiting for the boar to come in. No loom for Mike, so we'll need to be careful to not lose the villager here to the boar. And for Pisty, also no loom in just yet, as there is no villagers in the queue for Pisty. And as I say that, he force drops to keep the TC running. A bit more idle TC time for Pisty. But with the amount of fishing ships that he has queued, or had queued at least, can queue. Maybe not the worst, as Pisty is definitely trying to be annoying here, blocking the fishing ships for Mike. And Mike here in a solid position, does have the second building up already. Of course, you start with a lumber camp and then the dock is the second building. Mike going for a second dock already, so Mike definitely wants to click up, has the food for it. Will need to go out for gold, has gold relatively close to his TC. And for Pisty, Pisty sees the gold here and could go out for that gold as well. Pisty chooses to hang around in the Dark Age a bit longer, which will give Mike an advantage on the water fights, even against the Dravidians. And with that, loom comes in for Pisty, who will have the food for Feudal Age afterwards. And Pisty is starting to wall off a bit. And Pisty, second dock, relatively far forward here. Could even go for some sneaky around the back stuff. Mike, just on 2 docks, is going for a lumber camp as well. Keep his wood on the main island a bit more efficient. And Pisty clicks up 22 villagers, but is almost a minute and a half or almost 2 minutes behind Mike to get up. Five on gold for Pisty, and for Mike, also 5 on gold. Oh no, wait, it's 6 on gold actually. And Mike getting loom after the Feudal Age is reached. Will go for double bit immediately, adding in that third dock and adding in 1 hulk. Cannot afford more hulks, unfortunately, just yet. I think that third dock maybe came a bit too early. And third dock coming up from Dravidians as well. With the wood bonus will definitely have more than enough. Mike going for the only dock he sees, realizes there's nothing really around there, will see the fishing ships, could start taking out the fishing ships. Fishing ships though, they garrison, so the hulk needs to go away. And Mike adding in 1 more hulk, 1 galley and 2 fires, so adding in a bit of everything. As Pisty adds in 2 galleys and 1 hulk. And Mike going out to the mill, on the berries. Has some deer around there as well, so great mill position there. And blacksmith coming up for Pisty, so Pisty wants to be a bit more aggressive on the water. Warships for Mike are inside the minimum range, so will not take damage and will start to damage the dock here. Fire's quite expensive, but in this situation, really good to start taking out docks. As Mike currently just leaves the dock, wants to find where Pisty is taking his fish. Will find it. Pisty cannot garrison all of his fishing ships, as there is hulks out, there is fires out, there is galleys out. But Mike is behind in terms of eco, is behind in terms of numbers on water, and as I say, that evens it up. Is forced to retreat over here, could potentially fight hulk on hulk. Mike, the first one to get fletching. But Mike did lose some of the reinforcements coming out of the dock to the hulk and the galley over here. Pisty Pisty allowed to fish relatively peacefully, as the pressure is now on Mike, who is going for forging as well, so really starting to use his blacksmith for all of the ship upgrades, as there is a market coming up as well from Mike. And with that market, we'll have the buildings to click up. Also has the opportunity to maybe sell some of his stone for more gold to make more warships, as the warships are starting to kind of go down for Mike. And as I say that, because Mike has the defender's advantage over here, cleans up Pisty's warships. Mike not really moving forward just yet, just choosing to stay at home. Wants to wait for a few more reinforcements, as the eco count for both players relatively even. Mike, currently housed, has almost 1 minute of 1 minute of idle TC time against Pisty's 31 seconds. Pisty's eco behind this. Great, because he just clicked up to Castle H. And I think with Castle H on the way for Pisty, if he does not take too many losses on water, will win the water fights. But Pisty, with 5 galleys, 4 hulks, could still lose it all, depending on Mike's engagements here. Mike, so not really there in terms of gold, because he's spending all of his gold on more and more warships. Maybe Mike realizes he's up, although Mike's score is quite far ahead, and that is mainly due to technology. As we see, terrible engagement for Mike, as he just clicks, he doesn't patrol in, and Mike is forced to fall back. And as Mike loses most of his hulks right as Pisty reaches, or almost reaches, the Castle H, I think Mike needs to really start thinking about the Castle H. May have gone onto stone here a bit too early, because Pisty reaches the Castle H and Mike has not even clicked yet. And with selling off the stone, dropping off the food, clicks up, but clicks up right as Pisty reaches the Castle H. And that is definitely something you don't want. Pisty goes for a second TC on the stone, and Pisty walled off the entire map, or his side of the map. So Mike cannot come forward for a very in-your-face castle drop. Now, Mike did scout some of these walls, so could be thinking about that. Medium warship is clicked, Bodkin is clicked, and with that I think Mike will need to fight here for as long as he can without that upgrade being in. But as soon as the upgrade is in for Pisty, as soon as Bodkin is in, the fights will definitely start to go in Pisty's favor. As we can see, the fire galleys from Mike start to go down. Although, Mike doing a great job here with the fires and the galleys. Will lose some ships, but still not too terrible. Mike very heavy on stone and is definitely thinking about that land transition. It's falling back. 4 docks here for Mike versus Pisty's 3 docks. So depending on how long Mike can hold here, definitely potential for a water comeback as well. But Pisty being on 2 TCs, having his 10 fishing ships running, is ahead in the eco. So looking more and more difficult for Mike. And Pisty doing a great job just taking out the dock here. I would love to see 1 or 2 fires, because fires, starting with the new patch, just they take down buildings so fast compared to other ships. And medium warships in for Mike. We can now start to think about engaging here. As the engagement happens, the dock goes down, unfortunately for Mike. Mike forces the fires onto the galleys. Maybe not the best play. Villagers moving forward to the transport ship, and this is very, very dangerous. If Pisty spots the transport ship, spots the villagers, could be disaster for Mike, but Pisty not reacting to it, so could be great. And Mike drops the castle right on Pisty's face. Pisty reacts. Pisty is engaging here. Is Pisty sending back? Pisty is sending some ships back. Korean turtle ship is out for Mike. Pisty also will fighting. The game depends on this castle for Mike. If this castle fails, then Mike is definitely not winning this game. In the front, fights are still happening, not as important as the castle that actually goes up. Mike did lose quite a few villagers for it, but can now start producing turtles. Although Mike does not have the wood for turtle ships just yet, I think sending all the villagers forward for the castle nuked his wood eco. Definitely was the correct play to send more villagers than needed, and Pisty over here is dropping a defensive castle of his own. Mike with the very, very forward lumber camp. And with the rest, that looks like he really, really wants to potentially go to imp first. Will definitely need to go to imp first from this position. Pisty very far ahead, very solid position for Pisty. Will deny any more forward castle creeping here from Mike. Although Mike could potentially just loop around here to the left. Pisty is looping around with his entire wood eco. Maybe not the greatest. There is 33 villagers here clumped together. And Pisty will make a TC there. Mike will eventually find that with the outposts. As Mike is going for a monastery and a university. Wants to grab the relics, could potentially think about wanting to get ballistics as well. Castle is found, or revealed rather. And so Mike is forced to run around to the left to find some damage here. But like I said, I would love it for Mike if he just tries to get his way to Imperial Age. Would even not mind if selling the stone to do so. As Pisty once again walls up here. And Mike with the war wagons not really finding the damage that he wants to find. Ironically, the war wagons are on the wrong side of the walls. But definitely a lot of reactions cost from Mike. As Pisty is patrolling the shorelines. Mike has redocked over here in the top, so his fishing ships are still alive. That is a great job from Mike. Just his 7 fishing ships. Silently working away. And Mike, knowing that there is another TC there, will... Ooh, that was potentially a blocked off castle drop, but Mike dropping that castle will need to wall here. And does so. And Pisty, having 35 villagers here, will definitely get the castle up. Mike, being Koreans, does see this, also has the outpost here. So it's a castle race. Pisty's castle will complete first. The question is, can Mike complete his castle as well? And will Pisty create petards out of his castle? And the castle completes. The villagers are inside the castle. Villagers will eject from Mike. So in the long run, the castle from Pisty will take out Mike's castle faster. And more TCs from Pisty. No petards from... No, never mind. Pisty has petards queued. Pisty will win the petard war here. The castle will go down. But Pisty's eco is all over the place. 0 on wood, 10 on food. And the 10 on food is just the fishing ships, as the war wagons that were converted earlier will be looping around. And it is not looking too great for Mike, who definitely tried to make something happen this game. But I think with the eco advantage that Pisty has, we'll find it very hard to make something happen. I love the all-inning on the castle drops. But I think Mike will need to find more damage for that to work. As Mike is now... Mike might actually win the petard war. Pisty does not have the food eco to sustain petard production. Mike has a siege workshop behind, could go for a singular ram. But Pisty... Does Pisty see? Pisty does see the workshop here. Pisty currently 3 petards. Mike will have 6 petards when it's all set and done. And 1 monk goes down, 2 monk goes down, and the 3rd one will go down as well. Great value there for Mike, who can sit here behind the wood line and snipe some villagers, potentially. And in the end, might be better for Mike than I expected, actually. It might be better. But Pisty having the eco lead, having the military lead. Although, a lot of the military lead, of course, being on water, might still be in a not great position, as Pisty is picking up with petards again. Mike will have 8 petards. And here we go. Castle for Pisty goes down. 2 petards left. Mango shots misses. Petards hit the town center. So TC lower. This must feel great for Mike. Mike adding in 1 more TC on the stone over here. But Pisty, who's finally starting to add in some farms. How many TCs does Pisty currently have? Pisty is on 5 TCs, but the 5th one will be taken out eventually by the castle. As we have war wagons converted, not converted because they were deleted. And more war wagons being queued, although Mike would not really dare to sustain war wagon production, and Pisty abuses the market, clicks up, and with the clicking up could potentially start to trap down Mike's castles. And with that, I think once again Pisty is in a great position here as the monk. For Mike goes down. War Wagon on 4 HP will need to run away. And Mike with another very aggressive castle. This will take out a lot of the food eco. 10 farms here. That is basically the whole farming eco. And Pisty... Can Pisty see those villagers coming forward? Pisty cannot see the villagers coming forward, but is dropping a castle. Can now see some of the villagers. Monk wants to say hi to the elephant. And converts the elephant. Now Mike does not see that there is a castle going up here. And should run away, should not force this castle up. Already did that once. That is definitely too much for Mike if he loses the villagers. Will still try to get the castle up, but I think as soon as the Imperial Age is in for Pisty, Mike will call the GG. With the castle here being denied by the Mangonel, with the Urumi swordsman being out, I see no way for Mike to get back into this game. And Imperial Age is in. I think Mike wants to get this castle up. But I don't think it will happen, unfortunately. With the Urumis out, with the Mangonel there. And the castle is stuck at 88%. And Mike calls the GG. Pisty wins the set 2-1. And I have to say this was a great set. Great aggression for both players from both sides. From all three of the games. And Disappointed Invader, welcome with the raid. You just missed the Mike versus Pisty set, which was the last set I was casting. I will quickly go over to the statistics. And Pisty just with more economy winning the water. Mike giving up on the water to drop that very forward castle. And then Pisty just stopping Mike dead in his track with a very well placed castle over here. Also a very nice tower that we missed to stop villagers here from taking the wood, from taking the stone. And then Mike with more castle drops, more aggression. And unfortunately, Pisty had the better imp timing. And so Mike had to tap out. Now I will quickly go over the sheet, fill out the form. We can go over the brackets and then I will probably end stream right there. But the standings are here. I will quickly fill out the form, and then after the form is filled out, I will go over potential standing endings, as we have Mike versus Pisty. Alright, sheet is filled in and we can see that Mike did take spot number 1. Is that correct, or did I make a mistake in filling out the sheet here? Quickly double check. No, there is no mistake. I did fill out the sheet correctly, but because Mike won a game, he went up in the stats. Alright, now we do have one more set later today that will be played at 19 GMT. It is Pride versus GeologyWade. And Pride versus GeologyWade will be cast live. I will have a co-caster with that as well. Then tomorrow we have Soches versus Frozen Hot Pepper Pizza to finish out group number 2. That will be cast live as well at 17:30 GMT on Wednesday. And then there is Pisty versus Duhak, which has, as far as I'm aware, not been scheduled yet. But if there is something happening in the scheduling channel, no, there's no confirmed time for that set just yet. And Huggy says the second best co-caster after me. And we will see. I will send you guys off to someone else. But like I said, I will be back later tonight at 19 GMT with a co-caster to cast Pride versus GeologyWade live, and that will potentially be the game for who makes the playoffs between GeologyWade and Pride. And I currently don't see anyone who I am following yet live, which is a bit surprising, honestly. So let's see who is live, who is playing Age of Empires as well. I might just send you guys off to, let's see, who is doing interesting stuff. Do we know anyone who we can raid? And if not, I might just end the stream without raiding. Let's see. That is not in English, unfortunately. I don't really see anything that I think is... No, I think we kind of hit a dead spot here in terms of viewership for Age of Empires. Right before all the pro streamers are coming online. Very likely that as soon as I end the stream now, the pro streamers will start to pop up. You know what? I will just rate Lewis and I will send you guys off to him. And then we will be back at 19 GMT. Hope to see you guys there with a co-cast as well. So I will send you guys off to Lewis. Have a very nice day if you don't come hang out. And if you do come hang out, hope to see you. Hope you will enjoy that set as well. But for now, have a nice day and I will see you guys another time. Bye bye.